Hi everyone, we are from the group The Challengers. We present the article about recovering IT in a disaster, written from Hurricane Katrina by Iris Douglas and Blake Ivis. My name is Lalita Ketkel. My meeting number is 255977. From the articles, there are 8 subtopics. The first 4 subtopics will be presented by me and the other 4 subtopics will be presented by my group members. From the article, we can see that disaster preparedness is needed because planning for disaster and disaster recovery is essentials. But the threat may come in many forms that we can see from the article that the experience by Northern GRUMMAN's Corporation was Gulfport facility, employee and communications and information structure fell down because of Hurricane Katrina. As we know, NORTHROP GRUMMAN's Corporation have failed in the path of the Katrina hurricanes, although they have a continuity plan. This is because Katrina hurricane is far exceed of the underlying plans. Cyberterrorism, bombs, fast-moving virus in humans, and natural disaster is a threat to the CIO. But for natural disaster is a worst threat to the CIO because it have potential massive disruption in information technologies that can cripple even destroy a business. Then I will present about ship system sector in the path of disruption. Northrop Grumman's Corporation is a global defense and technology company which provides innovative system, products, and solutions in information and service. This corporation has employed about 122,000 employees, which the company works about 13 billion USD. And their largest business is ship construction, which accounting for revenue about 5.7 billion in 2005. And for your information, in August 2005, Northrop Grumman's ship system sector built a large military vessel primarily for U.S. Department of Defense and the Navy. About 20,000 employees will work at 3 large facilities in Gulf. And from these 20,000 employees, 12,900 workers will work at Pascagoula and together with a smaller shipyard in neighboring Gulfport. And about 7,100 workers will work at New Orleans. And this New Orleans will approximately 124 miles west of Pascagoula. From the articles, we know that preparing for hurricane was nothing new to the ship's system sector or its CIO, Gen Radios or its 200 IT professionals that located at its Gulf Coast facility. This because before the Hurricane Katrina, they has already faced another 2 hurricanes, which in September 2004 they faced the hurricane events that threatened this facility, but the team had carefully secured its asset. And the next 10 months, which is in July 2005, another hurricane, which is Hurricane Dennis, threatened them, but they did the same. Fortunately, these 2 storms missed the sector facility, but in August 2005, another powerful hurricane, which is Katrina, was bearing down on the Gulf Coast, where the team took the usual precautions. The basic precaution that taken by radio's team was data backup was sent to Iron Mountain as well to the Northrop Grumman Dallas location, and the most of several were power off and run in the past weeks. And a newly installed backup generator located in relatively secure location will allow them to leave some essential server to runnings. And several hours before evacuations, this server was switched over to the exclusively generators. But just one application will keep live an extranet that will support the development of new classes of destroyers, the DDG-1000s. This system was important resources for NORTHROP, GRUMMAN, the Navy, the Department of Defense, and other suppliers. This because at the times this was the critical design review was just 2 weeks away. From the article, we can see that Hurricane Katrina had caused extensive damage to the Pascagoula and Gulfport yards, and also caused the damage at the New Orleans yards. The storm smashed ashore at the morning of the August 29 Mondays. By Monday night, it was appeared in the new report that both ship sector in Pascagoula and New Orleans facility have been in the storm path. And in early Tuesday morning, the first report that come in to the Philip T, the president of NORTHROP GRUMMAN ship, that the news from the Pascagoula yards storm right out the team was back. The shipbuilding business as well as the life and well-being of the ship sectors with 20,000 employees and their approximately 60,000 dependents were at risk. The Katrina hurricane had caused extensive damage in the Pascagoula and Gulfport yards. It caused damage to the ship, but with one exception that was reactive lights, and which is the last crane and fabrication facility also survives, but with extensive damage. And anything which the electric motor were exposed to the corrosion of salt water was destroyed or required extensive repairs. Among electric motor that was required extensive repair was later drill presses and other electrical equipment as well as some more modern cranes and construction materials including mine of metal pipings were scattered everywhere. This caused major loss on building that was previously were housed for the managers and engineers that will stay here to watch over the particular phase of constructions. Now those buildings and the desk, the file, the computer, phone, walkie-talkie and the blueprint that had been settled within the building have been destroyed due to the Katrinas. And the study also stated that about 1,500 personal computers had been lost as well as 200 servers, 300 printers, 600 data input and hundreds of two-way radios. And this hurricane also destroyed the primary data center including server and communication gear, which most of the network infrastructure in the 675 acre yard was gone. In addition to the loss of the local and metropolitan network connectivities, the wide areas network that were linked to Pascagoula to the rest of the sector and the company was no longer works. Hurricane Katrina also caused damage at the New Orleans yards, but IT damage reports were far more encouraging than for the Mississippi facility. This because much of communication infrastructure has survived in this New Orleans, as several servers will continue to operate throughout the storm, including those supporting email and instant messaging, but a subsequent failure in the air conditioner system led to an automatic shutdown of the server and their communications. For about a week after the storm, some phone lines were still usable. We can only receive the incoming calls, but although the phone lines still usable, in that week also the communication suddenly failed. This was due to the communication line have been down by the storms. The failure in the public infrastructure combined with security concerns disrupted the New Auckland Yard for the weeks. For many days, access to the barracks in which the yard was located was tightly controlled and limited to daylight hours. It became apparent to the team in Dallas that neither Gulf Coast data center would be available anytime soon, so the Pascagoula Center might never be available. That's all for my part.
Assalamualaikum and good morning. My name is Guzaima binti Amituddin, metric number 256055. I proceed with the section in where the company tried to get the people back to work. So basically, the crisis team found out that it will be hard for them to continue their work and recovery action without the help of the personnel. So they tried to get the employee or the people back to work. The first one is by transforming the leadership. So in this kind of situation, a quick and rapid decision making are essential. So the managers are allowed to make a decision with far less analysis and oversight, so that they can make a decision quickly uh, to overcome the situation that happened during the disaster time. So the senior managers also transition from their usual planning, business planning and budgeting into focusing more on the tactics and operations, so that they can help to prepare to overcome the situation during that time. The hierarchy also tended to be dissolved, means they do not care about the hierarchy, especially during the uncertainty and limited information. Next is managing in a stressful environment. So in this kind of situation, it's also make a stress from under the managers or also the people to be intensified as the magnitude of the recovery requirement emerge. So the stress also led to the situation where a lot of requests are made to take the people out of jobs. So they want the people to quit. So the senior manager found out that senior management, found out that they need to quickly transition back into their roles quickly and passionately for the Herculean recovery efforts, so that they can handle the situation more efficiently. So the management need to handle the increasing offer. The management also need to handle the increasing offer from the employees seeking for help, such as because they lose their home and so on. So they need to handle all that kind of situation. So I proceed with the restoring the IT infrastructure. Due to the Katrina, they had to restore the IT infrastructure because a lot of them had damage during the Katrina. So the first one will be the reconnecting the yards. Reconnecting the yards focus more on the improving the communication. So to improve the communication, the team had brought a number of satellite phones and distributed it to the key members of the ship system. So this will increase the communication between the key members, so that they can make decisions easily. And then they also provide the satellite dishes where they install the satellite dishes at the Pascagoula and New Orleans yards, and they also buy some walkie-talkies as a to replace the hundreds of two-way radios, so that because wireless make it easier for them to communicate without the use of the number of phones that had been damaged during the Katrina. So the next one is building a new data center. The new data center was built in Dallas as a site for the new data center. So the servers also needed to be relocated, which requires for taking the servers off a line for several hours. However, the teams also face some challenges because there are some incompatibilities between the system software and the new hardware environment. Uh, and then next is restoring the data and application. So the team have made some backup and deliver it to the Iron Mountain as well as to Dallas, the new data center. And the essential data had been accessed on the server, also being backed up. So next is the sector business continuity plan provided some guidance but lack of important decision. This is the challenges that need to face because although they provide the guidance, they do not focus on the dimension that uh, actually they need to focus on. So I proceed with the planning, recovering and learning from disasters. This section actually can be divided into three parts, which are the disaster preparedness, disaster recovery, and also learning from disaster or near disaster. So basically, 2 weeks after Katrina, the Sherman's organization had positively played their roles where they find and support the employee sector and their families, which by giving them some help in order to support them to continue their daily life. And they also distribute the payroll to the employees in order to encourage them to get back to work. So I proceed with the disaster preparedness. Disaster preparedness is actually very important in the organization as we cannot predict what will happen in the future. So by having the disaster preparedness, it can actually minimize the losses that might happen in the future when the disaster actually occurs. So it is actually advisable for the organization to have an alternative disaster approach in a broader of disaster type because basically most of the organization only have one type of disaster approach. For example, for the financial institution, they only have prepared for the IT failures. For the hospital, they only prepared for the pandemic, and for the airlines industry, they prepared for the technical problems regarding the airplanes. So actually, it is not advisable to have only one because it's not we cannot be sure that the only organization only will be facing one type of disaster. So by having more, it can help the organization to prepare to be more prepared on the disaster on several types of disaster. So the companies can also establish a disaster preparedness portfolio where some of the disaster might share some similar characteristic and also refer to the IT disaster preparedness framework, for example like COVID and ITIL. So I proceed with the next section, which is about the COVID. So COVID is actually control objective for information and related technology. COVID serves as an integrator among disparate best practice and unites them into one generic framework. It also opens standard that integrates several established frameworks, and also focus on IT governance objective and metrics, while ITIL, or known as IT Infrastructure Library, improve the efficiency and effectiveness of IT service de facto standard based on best practice from the industries and focus more on the process method. So that's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Rafaiza Azrin binti Ishaq and my matrix number is 255697. So I will proceed with the planning, recovering and learning from disasters. So let's proceed to the disaster recovery. Since there is emphasis on the disaster preparedness such as COVID, ITIL and other frameworks, they will provide directions to the recovery strategies. The level of preparedness determines the scope of reactivity required after disaster has struck. So we will know if they are able to react with disasters when it is actually happened. The management must plan the recovery efforts from the very beginning in order for them to react positively in the disaster. The next one is learning from disaster on a disaster. One of the suggestions that has been made is to create a disaster team that is part of a crisis close down operations. Its purpose is to immediately document the experience of each individual disaster recovery participants. So it will become the history and one of the improvement methods that can be made for the future disaster preparedness. As compared to the amount of time spent by the organization on the disaster preparedness and the recovery effort, the post-disaster and the disaster will receive a little attention. The thing that the organization can make is to prepare portfolio for anticipated crises, which they will learn from the unexpected events or crises that they will barely miss. The next one is the nature of disasters shift with time, ever increasing complexity of technology. As the technology will keep on updating from time to time, therefore the organizations need to bear in mind it's not only the type of disaster can change, but also the likelihood of the disaster will become normal to the organization. So let's proceed to the 10 lessons that we get from NORTHROP GRUMMAN corporations. The first lesson is to keep data and data centers out of harm's way. At least one of planning assumptions need to be made by the organization, such as the location of the backup data centers. They need to ensure that the backup data centers are protected against the flood, hurricanes, and the other natural disasters. The second lesson that we get is don't assume the public infrastructure will always be acquirable. As what we have learned from the NORTHROP GRUMMAN Corporation's experience, the problem that they face is beyond the communications. As what they have faced is the road will wash away, airport is inaccessible, water was polluted, and the food was unavailable. Therefore, into the organizations need to prepare the disaster preparedness that include the vulnerability of the public infrastructure, such as the extra satellite phones that are now in secure locations. The point one is to assume some people will not be available, as what have been faced by the recovery teams, that there is no knowledgeable people during the disaster recovery. Then they have called the staff or employees that have the basic knowledge on the computing to help them during the recovery efforts. So it means that when the A team was unavailable, they call for the B teams. It means that the NORTHROP GRUMMAN Corporation has established backup role takers for all key personnel in their corporations. The next one is leverage your suppliers as critical team members. As what the NORTHROP GRUMMAN has experienced, the suppliers were really responsive in providing the product and services to them. They have implemented a contingency plan that link the suppliers' capabilities to their employees' capabilities. They ensure that the suppliers work side by side with their employees in order for them to come up with a recovery plan. The next one is expect the unexpected. It means that the organization need to build a crisis portfolio in order to for preparing for at least one disaster in each crisis category. It means that the organizations need to prepare for each category and does not focus on one category only. The next step is to get prepared. Get prepared is important for the organizations before the disaster hits. The organizations can use COVID or ITIL or identify the crisis teams, train and test scenarios and list of suppliers that they are needed before disaster. The documentation, simplicity and consistency will also help the backup teams to get in place quickly. The next one is establish a strong leadership position. A strong leadership position is really important to act quickly and decisively prevents the organization from falling into analysis paralysis. Decisions need to be made quickly under higher uncertainty. It is to ensure that they are able to make fast a recovery plan with their leadership skills. So the next one is empower decision makers on the team. Usually, pre-established decision hierarchies will dissolve in crisis. Therefore, the leadership will be more centralized due to the high level of uncertainty, and the leadership will become more decentralized due to the communications breakdown. The last lesson is exploit fresh start opportunities. Usually, after the disaster has happened, the equipment of all in the organizations will be affected. Therefore, this is the opportunities for the organizations to upgrade their equipment into the better one. So the conclusion that we receive from the NORTHROP GRUMMAN Corporation is that we learned a great deal from its experience with the Hurricane Katrina. Foremost, it acknowledged that disasters happen and will always and continue to happen in the future. Assumptions regarding regional disasters will not necessarily match the actual disaster, so the staff need to be flexible and adaptable when responding. The preparedness extends beyond individual firms and first responders. Planning is really important to deal with crises, and what element in the planning is also need to be considered by the organizations. I think that's all from our group. Thank you.